There it goes. All right. Thank you, teams. All right. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you for taking time out of your Monday evening to join us for our listening session today about the Transportation Electrification Program at ODOT. My name is Matt Noble. I'm a communications specialist with the communications group at ODOT, and part of my job is to support the Climate Office and all of their communications needs. And so I'll be your host tonight, and I'm joined by many fine folks from the office. So moving right along, I'm going to make these a little better for you all to see. Let's see, full screen. There we go. Now we're cooking with gas. All right. So quick,
Electricity, Matt. Cooking with electricity.
thank you. That's right. Thank you, Mary. I appreciate that that correction. So, just a little housekeeping and the agenda before we move on tonight. So, you all seem very well versed with your camera and microphone functions. Thank you. That's excellent. We ask that you please keep yourself muted and stay off camera for the first 15-ish minutes. We just have a really short presentation for you guys to kind of familiarize with all of our programs, let you know where we're at, and then we are going to be listening to all your comments, which is the main purpose of this session today. If you want to ask questions, that is also encouraged. Please use the meeting chat function to do so. You'll see that little chat bubble. You can click that. That'll pop out the chat window. And then you can just please put your question there. If for whatever reason you maybe aren't comfortable asking a question in chat, or maybe you think of one after the meeting, that's okay. You can also email that to me directly, and then I will be collecting all the questions from this meeting, including our other meeting last week with the industry folks, and we'll have a big old FAQ that we're going to share with all of you in a couple weeks with all the questions asked and answered by us. Other than that, I think that's it for all the housekeeping. And so yeah, I will drop my email in the chat for you so you guys have that. But otherwise, Mary, please take it away.
Okay, great. Thank you, Matt. Next slide, if you could start with the first slide. Hi, everyone. My name is Mary Brazel, and I'm the Transportation Electrification Program Manager in ODOT's Climate Office. Thank you so much for joining us tonight as we share highlights of some of the work we've been doing and listen to your thoughts about how ODOT's Transportation Electrification team can better serve Oregon and get charging and fueling infrastructure built throughout the state. Our focus is to ensure that all Oregonians benefit from electric transportation. We've started with foundational studies to assess charging infrastructure needs across a wide variety of use cases, then taken a deeper dive into hydrogen refueling and electric micromobility. We've listened to all the questions we've received, seeking help with charging station installation, and we responded with both a rebate program to help foster greater access to charging in communities and multifamily housing, and with a one-stop shop guide to address the how-to of going about charging up Oregon. Next slide, Matt. Thanks. We're beginning to move forward towards more implementation, focusing on getting more EV charging and fueling infrastructure in the ground by facilitating public-private partnerships to invest in the EV charging infrastructure, leveraging federal and state funding for both light-duty cars and trucks and medium and heavy-duty EVs. Today, we're going to discuss 4 areas of our team's work. Now, this is not all of our work. It's broader than this, but the 4 areas of our team's work that we're discussing today are the guide for Oregon EV charging deployment, the community charging rebates program, the National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Program, and our outstanding grant proposals under the Charging and Fueling Infrastructure Program. We want to spend most of our time today listening to your thoughts on how to better work together and how we can better share the work we're doing. But we have one favor to ask, and that is your patience. Everyone wants to see chargers in the ground today. Most of all, we do. But it takes time to do it right. ODOT must adhere to strict federal and state standards to fulfill our role as stewards of public funds and to ensure that all Oregonians are able to charge up safely, equitably, and reliably and benefit from transportation electrification investments. We're planning more outreach going forward, specifically for the Community Charging Rebates Program and the National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Program, to focus attention on the partnerships and challenges involving utilities, and to engage with communities along future corridors to better improve our requests for proposals and our infrastructure investments. We need your help and we welcome your thoughts. And my colleague Jillian DeMedio will start us off.
Thank you, Mary, and good evening, everybody. Just to reiterate my colleagues, I just want to thank everybody for joining us today. We really appreciate you guys taking the time after hours here. My name is Jillian DeMedio. I'm a senior transportation electrification analyst on the team here at ODOT, and I'm going to kind of kick things off with a high-level overview of what we call our Go EV Charge initiative. This is our one-stop shop of information, resources, and tools to help those who are interested in deploying EV charging. Our webpage includes our most recently published study, the Guide for Oregon EV Charging, but also two companion tools, our TINA dashboard and our EV infrastructure planning map. Really, these tools are designed to be used together. So our guide can help users plan for and initiate charging station deployment, whereas the TINA dashboard will help users estimate how much, what type of charging is needed, and by when. And lastly, our EV infrastructure planning map is designed to help users think about how to site those charging stations in Oregon communities. So next slide. Our deployment guide is really our centerpiece document of this web page. It builds on the foundational work that we did in our transportation electrification infrastructure needs analysis, or what we call our TINA study. So our TINA study, which was published in 2021, really set the stage by establishing the need for a significant increase in EV charging in Oregon. And our deployment guide is a follow-up to this work and serves as sort of a how-to with a wealth of information for those who are looking to get started. Next slide. This is a screenshot of our next tool called our TINA dashboard. It's an Excel spreadsheet that puts all the modeling that we did for the TINA study, so all those EV charging estimates, into an easy to access and user-friendly format. It allows users to see charging needs by geography, so you can see estimates statewide or even dial things in by county or municipality. And you can also see charging station needs by year out through 2035. It's also customizable, so users are able to explore alternative assumptions to TINA and really assess how, when you change certain assumptions, how does that change the mix of EV charging that's needed. And then lastly, for those who really want to dig into the details, you can access the underlying model and all of the data that is fed into it as well. Next slide. So once you have an idea of how much charging is needed in your community, our next tool called our EV infrastructure planning map is really designed to help you think about how to site that infrastructure. In particular, it's designed to help identify priority areas in each community where siting EV charging will help further goals related to equity, to filling in network station gaps, and ensuring high station utilization. So you can see this is a screenshot of our tool. This blue layer here is one of our what we call our priority area layers. It ranks census tracts all throughout Oregon on a color gradient, so from low to high priority for siting infrastructure for both level 2 as well as fast charging stations. In addition, the map includes a number of additional layers that really help provide context around population, land use, traffic, equity, and a whole lot more. So it's really meant to be customizable, so users can kind of create their own analysis to see how their own specific community can start to meet the need for EV charging. Next slide. So moving on now to our next program that we're going to talk with you about. This is our Community Charging Rebates Program. This is a funding program that has been designed to fill in charging station gaps in Oregon communities. So it supports the installation of level 2 charging stations at strategic locations, and in particular so far at multifamily housing and public parking sites. The program offers rebates for level 2 stations that are reimbursed per port on a first come, first served basis. And it will cover up to 75% of eligible costs of not only purchasing the equipment, but also installation and some amount of operations and maintenance as well. 70% of program funds are reserved for projects located in rural and disadvantaged communities. And we are going to be releasing funding for this program in rounds. So we did launch our first round back in June and fully reserved close to $2 million in funding as of October 6th of this year. And we're hoping to launch round 2 early in 2024. And with that, I'm going to pass things off to Jenna Compton to talk a little bit more about this program.
Thank you, Jillian. Hi, everyone. I'm Jenna Compton. I'm a Transportation Electrification Coordinator, Financial Coordinator, and I just wanted to thank everyone for attending tonight. I really appreciate it. The majority of CCR funds are reserved for priority communities, which are rural and disadvantaged communities. We use ODOT's statewide equity layer to determine disadvantaged communities, and for rural, we use the Oregon Office of Rural Health's definition for non-urban. We have a map on our program webpage that will help potential applicants determine if their project is located in either of these communities. You can see that anything outside of the large dark blue circles is considered rural, and those with hash marks are disadvantaged. Many communities fall into both of these categories. Another way we are centering equity is by working with Fourth to provide outreach, education, and technical assistance. This program was designed to reduce barriers for applicants. Please move to the next slide. Thank you. I would like to briefly go over some of the data from the first round. The program has reserved funding for 95 project sites with a total of 375 new level 2 charging ports. 71 of those projects are located in publicly accessible parking spaces, and 24 projects are located at multifamily housing locations. 79 of the projects are in priority communities, including both rural and disadvantaged communities. These projects were able to cover 23 counties in the state of Oregon. And with that, I'll pass it along to my colleague, Brett.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Thanks again for joining us today. My name is Brett Howell. I'm the Transportation Electrification Coordinator here with the Oregon Department of Transportation, and I'm going to talk to you about 2 different programs here. So the first one is the National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure, or NEVI program. So what this is a $5 billion program that was created under the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law that specifically sets aside funding to develop a network of DC fast charging stations across the nation. So Oregon is receiving $52 million as part of this program in federal funding, and this funding combined with a required 20% non-federal match that will come from the private sector here in Oregon makes up a total of $65 million that we have dedicated to this project. So funds for this project must be used on federally approved alternative fuel corridors, which is a designation established to create a national network of charging and alternative fuel corridors along our national highway system. Next slide. So as part of the funding requirements, the Climate Office developed Oregon's National Electric Infrastructure Vehicle Infrastructure State Plan, which is a 5-year guide for developing EV charging along major highways throughout the state. And by visiting our website now, you're able to view the state plan for years 1, 2, and 3 of the NEVI program. I'm sure many of you could be familiar with the requirements, so I won't spend too much time on them, but essentially what they say is that NEVI stations need to be built out every 50 miles along these alternative fuel corridors. They can't be any further than 1 mile from an interstate exit or a highway intersection, and they need to provide kind of standardized equipment as well. So they need to provide CCS connectors, they need to provide at least 4 ports that can provide 150 kilowatts simultaneously. And they must offer things like similar payment mechanisms, cybersecurity protections, and provide options for users of all abilities as well. And next slide. So current timeline for this, between January and March of this year, we conducted a series of 9 in-person and virtual community engagement sessions that helped inform the request for proposal and contract that we are now in the process of writing. In June of this year, we published a request for qualifications that allowed us to develop a pool of potential partners for this project. And I do want to specify that the partnership pool that we've worked on through the request for qualifications, it doesn't just benefit the state for the NEVI program, it could also benefit the state for charging infrastructure programs related to micromobility charging or level 2 charging, medium and heavy duty charging, and then potentially even hydrogen charging or hydrogen refueling infrastructure projects. Our next step is to release our request for proposal and sample contract. We expect that will happen sometime in the winter of this year or very early next year, with contract negotiation and construction beginning thereafter. And I do want to acknowledge that this process for the NEVI program has taken a little bit longer than we had originally anticipated. The fact is, we're designing a new type of contract, and this is one that must comply with federal aid highway, so Title 23 federal aid highway construction rules. And this is the first time there's been a national EV infrastructure program. So the Climate Office is working closely with its internal partners at ODOT and with our FHWA region staff, so Federal Highway Administration region staff, and making good progress on this contract and the request for proposal documents. Next slide. Now, I want to make sure we leave plenty of time for everybody to have, ask questions, make comments, but I do want to touch on just one last program here. So this is the Charging and Fueling Infrastructure Grants Program. So what this does is it's a Federal Highway Administration program that sets aside $2.5 billion in discretionary grant funding. It breaks it down into two buckets. In each of the buckets, there are different kinds of eligible projects. So electric vehicle charging infrastructure projects, hydrogen refueling projects, natural gas and propane fueling infrastructure projects are all eligible under this program. There are two different buckets, corridor and community. Corridor, you can think about kind of like the NEVI program. It does need to be usually within 1 mile of an alternative fuel corridor, whereas community could potentially apply to some level 2 or workplace charging projects within the community itself. We can go to next slide, Matt. So ODOT did submit 2 grant opportunities through this program, and we're still waiting to hear back on those. We anticipate probably finding out whether we won either one by the end of this year. The first one on the left of the screen is a program, a grant proposal that we submitted with California and Washington. So what this would do would be to fully electrify the I-5 corridor from California's border with Mexico to Washington's border with Canada, placing a station capable of providing charging for medium and heavy duty vehicles every 100 miles along the entire I-5 corridor. If successful, this application could also fund a hydrogen fueling station in each state as well. And separately, we proposed another grant proposal under this program to develop medium and heavy duty charging infrastructure along Interstate 84. So these are the 2 one-pagers. Absolutely happy to share them with anybody who wants to put their email in the chat. And I'll turn it back over to Matt. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, Brett. All right. Comments time. So thank you for listening to our short presentation there. So this is the moment you've all been waiting for. So how this will work is we emailed you all some questions on Friday morning to kind of prime you for this meeting, just some specific questions that we had some obviously questions on. And so we're going to move through those first one at a time, and we'll just ask folks to, if you have comments on those specific questions, just please use the raise hand button. It looks like a hand in your little toolbar ribbon on your Teams app. As like the host of the meeting, I can see the order that hands are put up, so I will call on people as they raise their hand. Just let you know, I can't pronounce people's names very well for some reason. So if I mispronounce your name, I apologize. I will do my best, but I will call on people as they are as their hands go up, and then you can then please unmute yourself. You may also turn on your camera. That's cool too. Then you can give your comments. Please try to keep them to like a minute 30, maybe 2 minutes, because we do have 20 people today. So we want to make sure we're hearing from everyone and that we get through all our questions. And also that we preserve time at the end for sort of just an open comment period. So if you have comments outside of our set questions, we would also very much like to hear those. So we want to make sure we get through everybody. So please try to keep your comments fairly short. Please be respectful of others and keep yourself muted when you are not talking. And let's see. And if you aren't comfortable commenting today for whatever reason, or maybe you think of one after the fact, my email is in the chat. So please just scroll up and you can send me your comments separately if that works best for you. And I believe that's everything we need. So let's go to the first question that we sent you guys. So this is more specifically for EV drivers, if we have any attending tonight. Thinking about your public charging experience in the last 6 or so months, what challenges have you faced and what could be improved about that experience? Cecilia, I see your hand up. Please give us your comment.
Thank you. I actually just took a round trip to northeastern Oregon in my EV 5 days ago, so some recent experience to reflect on, but it was pretty typical of what I've had for longer distance driving. And that is that it's really difficult to expect reliable charging when you stop at a station. And I use the PlugShare app as a way to, access the most recent experiences that people have had with stations, and that's been super helpful. But it's just super frustrating to pull into a station and find that it's only delivering 50 kilowatts when it's rated to deliver 150 or 350. So my question from that, and we can save this for later if appropriate, is how reliability is going to be monitored and or regulated through your contract process, your RFP process, your grant making process. What can we do to reinforce minimum reliability standards through funding mechanisms and other mechanisms that your programs have? Thank you.
Thank you. And actually, I appreciate you asking that question as well, because that's a great example. If you also have a question in the moment, we are obviously recording everything and we're taking notes. So yeah, I appreciate, Cecilia, you being a good example of another way that people can engage with us. So thank you for your comments. Anyone else have a comments about that first question about your recent public charging experiences? And Cecilia, just say no. I'm going to lower your hand with my admin powers, just so it's really just for me. I get confused. So anyone else? Steve, I see your hand up. Please give us your comment.
Yes, I had a similar experiences with my travels. I've had a Chevy Bolt, and I found it extremely difficult to travel any distance. I live in northeastern Oregon, Grand, and I currently bought a Tesla, and that infrastructure is much better, but still it's very stressful to try to take trips across eastern Oregon. There's far too few, and then these outside of Tesla charging units, totally not reliable. I've been to a number that don't work at all, so that makes things very difficult. And I think it's very important I see very important in this program that we do focus on making available, and I'm going to say level 3 chargers. Level 2 for travel are totally impractical. They make no sense whatsoever to me. To have to stop for 4 to 6 hours is not reasonable. So anyway, that's my comment.
Thank you. We appreciate your comment. Okay, anyone else for this first question? Any challenges or improvements that you think could be made? Cecilia, I see your hand up again. Please give us your comment.
Yeah, one other thought reflecting on my recent experience is that it's very difficult to always have the appropriate app for the variety of vendors that you encounter when you're on the road. So I've lost count, frankly, of how many that I've added to my phone. Some of them are easier to use than others. I tend to rely a lot on Electrify America because it's kind of like going to a fast food restaurant. You know exactly what to expect. And I've learned to use that system. But I just wonder if there's any mechanism for some kind of standardized or consolidated payment structure so that you don't have to work through so many different apps, or if there's some way to standardize the way the apps actually work, because many of them are really difficult to work with. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate your comment. All right. Anyone else before we move on? Any last minute folks want to jump in? All right, moving on to question 2. So we're working to electrify the transportation system in 3 main ways here at the ODOT Climate Office. One is to leverage funding, both state and federal, and of course form partnerships with private industry. We have lots of very brilliant staff, so we're using their expertise for policy recommendations. And we also strive to educate folks in Oregon about the benefits of switching to an electric vehicle. So in your opinion, are there other areas of EV infrastructure where we should focus our efforts? Amy, thank you for raising your hand, and please give us your comment.
I guess the question would be since a lot of these locations, let's just say 50 miles apart, is there going to be a standard response time from the selected vendor from the state to get these EV chargers back online so people aren't sitting at rest stops with broken equipment to be able to not go anywhere?
Thank you. That's a very salient question, and I added it to my big list. I'm keeping track of, so I appreciate you asking that. Did you have a comment while you have the floor, or?
I just so happen to work for an electrical company that is working on EV charging infrastructure within the Western regions, and ironically enough, your email came across my desk today for a call to kind of be a part of and see where the state is going with it versus like car lots or business owners or landlords, ownership groups, residents. So this is highly talked about amongst our community of what the state is going to do as a baseline for getting people around like safely. And so I was very encouraged to listen to what you guys had to say today.
Okay, well, thank you. We're glad you're able to join us. So appreciate your comments. Okay.
Matt,
Yes,
Matt,
Mary.
excuse me for a quick
Yes.
second.
Go
Amy,
for it.
could you elaborate? You talked about safely and a few other things. So, we're interested in areas of EV infrastructure where we should focus our efforts, and we hear your concern about reliability loud and clear. But do you have other safety related or other issues that you wanted to flag? You used that word, and I wanted to just follow up.
Safely is just, in my own personal opinion, regardless of who I work for. But if you think about people being at rest stops and having to spend a long period of time, even if it's a fast charger, level 3, level 2, whatever it is, these people are taking a large amount of their travel time and staying at these destinations. Is there any thought to how we're going to upgrade and accommodate people just not stopping and getting right back on the road as you would with a gas-powered vehicle versus EV? So something to think about when you have families and you don't want to sit in your car for 2 to 3 hours at a time. So it encompasses a whole other line of questions, as we're taking vehicles and we're looking at low emissions, but there's things that come along with accommodating this additional need of EV, especially along the state highways. I mean, that's what I meant by that.
Thank you. Thank you for your comment. And
Thank you, Amy.
just to make sure everyone understands, what our goal here is to listen to you and take down your questions and then put out a publicly available, frequently asked questions document that Matt referred to as a FAQ, an FAQ, so that everybody can benefit from hearing your questions and getting the answers. So that's why we're focusing on listening and not responding to everything.
Thank you, Mary. Okay, Sean, I see your hand up as well. Please give us your comment.
Yeah. So mine's kind of a, me type question or type problem, but I guess that's everyone's, right? I'm in the Albany Corvallis area. There's a few fast chargers in Albany. There's 0 in Corvallis. And I would think that Oregon State University, being a destination, would actually have some fast chargers, and there just aren't any. And along with that, other grocery stores, businesses, downtown, trying to revitalize a downtown economy. It would seem like downtowns would want to actually include DC fast charging to try and get people there. Is there any way to, is there any funding to focus or energy to focus towards getting some of these destination locations, small towns, downtown organizations to install DC fast chargers as opposed to level 2? Level 2 is great. I have access to it on campus when I'm there, but if I'm there all day, great. If I only need to come in and leave a short period of time, level 2 doesn't help. So hoping that there can be some form of benefit to getting level 3 charging, DC fast charging in downtown areas, destinations like Oregon State University campus, U of O campus, things like that.
Thank you, Sean, for your comment. Appreciate it. And just a quick shout out to everyone so far. You're doing excellent, keeping your comments very concise so we can hear from everyone. So I really appreciate everyone working hard to keep them short tonight. We really appreciate it. But so Steve, I see your hand up as well. You have the floor.
Yes. Another thing, I hear that most of the manufacturers now have agreed to go to the Tesla plug standard. And I'm wondering if that's going to be part of this program, is start with a standard plug so that we don't have to redo it in another year or two. Everybody's coming out with them, or I think it'd be a waste of a lot of money start off in the hole, I guess. So anyhow, that's my comment.
Thank you, Steve. We appreciate your comment, and yeah, you're not the first person to bring that up. So we appreciate you you adding your voice in that respect. And let's see. So and then Sean, I see your hand. Is your hand possibly still up from your previous question, or did you have another thought?
Sorry, yeah, it's just still up. Although I do definitely agree with the next comment.
Cool. Okay, just double checking. No worries. I mean, I use this program every day, and I still can't figure it out sometimes. So it's okay. Anyone else have any other thoughts on our second question here before we move on? And Steve, did you have a follow-up comment, or sorry, comment, or was it just your hand was up?
Sorry, my hands just left that.
That's okay. That's quite all right. I can be more aggressive lowering hands myself, but we'll see what happens. All right. So I think if no one else is jumping in, then I will move on to the next one so we can keep moving here. So this is for anyone who's either part of an advocacy group or maybe they are, part of the leadership of one. Have you experienced challenges to advancing transportation electrification that are applicable statewide that our electrification team may be able to help you solve? Not seeing any hands yet, which is totally okay. It's possible we just have a group of EV drivers with us tonight, which is also excellent, or maybe some EV curious folks, which we also invite. So I'll give it 10 or so more seconds. And just to reiterate, while people are forming comments, if for whatever reason you're not comfortable commenting tonight, you can always just shoot me an email. Just scroll up on the meeting chat. My email will be in there, and I will add your comment to the list. Phil, I see your hand up. Please give us your comment.
Thank you. I wasn't going to talk tonight, but you've really got me thinking about comments that the Emerald Valley Electric Vehicle Association gets constantly from people who are thinking about buying electric vehicles. And that is the difficulty of traveling on secondary roads any great distance. Getting from here, from Eugene, for example, to places like Elko or Winnemucca or Salt Lake City, especially if you're off the main freeways, is difficult. So figuring out how we're going to get charging at reasonable intervals along those ways, I think is important. I don't expect it to happen instantly, but if we want adoption, people who never actually plan to travel ask that kind of question. But some who do want to travel ask it too.
Okay, thank you for your comment. We appreciate that. Anyone else have any thoughts on our third question tonight? All right, not seeing any hands shooting up. Give it 5 more seconds. I think we're doing okay on time here. All right, question 4. Don't worry, there's only 2 left, I promise. All right, so this is I admit this is a slightly selfish question as the communications person for the team. But so we primarily use email to communicate with you. Hello, I write all those emails with help from everyone else on your screen today. So thinking about the emails that we've sent you specifically, is there anything that you would like to change? Like maybe their content? Are they too dense? Are they too brief? Do they come too often? Do they not come often enough? Is everything just right? And I'm amazing at my job? That is also a valid comment. And thinking about other ways that we could communicate with you. So is it meetings like this, or perhaps social media, or any other sort of communication way that we can reach you? Is there anything that you would prefer or that you would like to see from us? And trust me, I have very thick skin. You can tell me, things are terrible, need to be fixed. Cecilia, I'm trusting you with this, but please, just kidding. Please give us your comment.
All right. Well, hopefully I won't pierce the skin, but a few thoughts on this. I have to confess, I'm a former state employee, so I'm a little sensitive to how information is given through outreach programs. But one thing that strikes me is that I have found the emails sometimes dense, where, I remember my former manager always saying, don't bury the lead. And sometimes it feels like the lead is in fact buried. But when I think about the usefulness of the emails, I think it would be really helpful to have some kind of either summary or highlight at the beginning of the email that's super simple and straightforward, especially if there's a call to action about attending a meeting or providing comment or something, to really highlight the key communication points that you want to have in that email. Because I find that I have to read through the whole email before I understand why it was sent to me. And so I think it would help to just treat it more like a press release and use that kind of discipline. I think having these online meetings periodically is a really great alternative or complement to the emails, because I really appreciate hearing the thoughts from other attendees. They often mirror what's been on my mind, but sometimes expand on that. So I really appreciate hearing it. And I just think having a little more dialogue is a good way to get at those common concerns that you're looking for. So thanks for being tough. I hope I wasn't too hard on you.
No, it's okay. I appreciate you being honest, and that's like I said, that's why we're here. It's really just to improve how we communicate with you guys. So I appreciate your comment. we appreciate your comment. I mean, I do too a little more, but we appreciate your comment. Steve, I see your hand up. Please jump into the ring.
All right. Seems like so much of this is centered around people that are already advocates, and I think it would be helpful to get some way to get it out more to the public and get more public interest, and help motivate them to understand the program and how it works. I don't know how you do that, but particularly, but I think it would be helpful, especially for those that are kind of on the fence. There's interest. There's a better way to get it out and people to get more involved. That's my thought.
Matt, you're muted. So thank you very much, Steve, for your comments.
Thanks,
I'll jump
Mary.
in for Matt.
It's the first time I've done that in both meetings. That's a good track record. I almost made it through both. All right. Anyone else have any thoughts on this question for us? Not seeing any hands shoot up. I'll give it a couple more seconds here.
I may
Hopefully no
just
one.
ask Phil Barnhart if he would mind reiterating or commenting on a comment that you made in another session, and that was about redundancy. So could you elaborate on that a little bit more?
The comment I recall was not really about redundancy. It was about the convoluted nature of state websites. And so maybe redundancy means things like including again over and over the links to things that you think we already know about, and make the link specific to the page that contains the information rather than to the page that links to the page where the information is. I was in the legislature for a long time, and I still have terrible trouble actually navigating state websites, and ODOT is no exception to that, unfortunately. But I think somebody who knows less than I do about it would probably has a horrible time actually finding their way through the labyrinth to get to the information they actually want. So I think maybe that's what I was referring to with when I was thinking about redundancy. Give all of the possible ways of getting to something so that one of them is likely to work. And repeat what you said last week when that's appropriate.
Thank you, Phil.
Thank you, Phil. Anyone else with some final thoughts before we move on to our final prep question, and then the open forum at the end? All right, moving right along. Last one for you all from us. If you visited, this is fun. If you visited one of our web pages about EVs or EV infrastructure, how was your experience? Could you find the information that you needed? Anyone have thoughts on this question? Oh, there's a hand. Come on, teams. Steve, hello again. Please give us your comment.
You provide a lot of good and useful information, but it's many times difficult to apply. And an example is if you are looking at trying to start or put in a charger or charge station doesn't seem to give adequate information as to how to go about that or how that's set up. There's other scenarios in the website that's similar that we give a general background and general ideas, but specifics seem to be lacking.
Okay, thank you for your comment. Anyone else have some thoughts on this question? Not seeing anybody. All right, so that is the end of our prepared questions for you guys. So like I keep saying, or if you have any other comments or maybe a question after the meeting, here's my information. Please send them my way so I can pass them on to the team and we can better fill out our frequently asked questions document. And we can also, of course, incorporate our comments and think on those. So I'll leave this up for a couple more seconds for anyone who wants to screenshot it or quickly jot it down. And I'll also put this back in the chat. See if I still have this on my board. Nope, don't have it on my board. That's okay. I'll put my email in the chat again for you all. But this is the official kind of open question time, or rather open comment time. So I will stop sharing my screen so you can see all our beautiful faces a little better. And if anyone has any general comments that are outside of the questions, we would love to hear them for the next about 15 minutes or so. Hello again, Cecilia. Please give us your comment.
Thanks. I was reflecting on some comments that were made earlier about location of charging and safety concerns. And I just realized that I've charged at several places where I did not feel particularly safe. Charging stations that were isolated or located at a gas station that wasn't open anymore and not near other services. And it made me wonder if, and I'll confess, I haven't had a chance to read all your latest documents about like your guide that you mentioned or other documents that provide guidance on siting these charging facilities. But I again wonder if there's some level of minimum services or proximity to services that might be used in selecting vendors and locations and so on, because there have been times where I'm charging at night and I'm by myself and it doesn't feel particularly safe. So thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Anyone else have any general comments, general thoughts on anything EV related? Bill, I see your hand up. Please let us know your thoughts.
Yeah, thank you. I want to reinforce the very first comment you got about reliability. I have no good idea about how to guarantee reliability. I do think going to Nexa, the Tesla system will improve reliability because CCS is notoriously unreliable, and you get rid of the necessity of having a card reader or something attached to the device, because all that stuff is done with software using the North American charging system approach. But so that does make things a little better in the long run. But I have to tell you that very first comment you got tonight was the one I get all the time, constantly, about charging systems away from home. So actually figuring out how to make that work is going to be a key, and I don't have a solution for you.
Thank you, Phil. Appreciate that comment. It's good to reiterate. All right, anyone else? General thoughts or comments? And of course, if you have questions, you can drop those in the chat as well. Or I think we have enough time if you have general questions that, again, we will not be answering them now, but if you have questions for me to quickly type down in the background, you can also ask those now as well. Wow, guys, we should have thought of like 5 more questions to ask them. I mean, this is just, yeah, we have so much time. This is great. Give it 10, 15 more seconds while people maybe dream up some more comments. Maybe you're all just listening. Steve, hello, I see your hand. Please give us your comment.
Again, I'd like to reiterate the importance of level 3 chargers. I don't know what the federal or even the state mandate is requiring, but I think level 2 chargers are, I guess, within the reach of most average people and businesses. Level 3 chargers are critical for any travel of any distance, and that could be 50 miles one direction and back, or whatever. It just seems like a lot of the funding's going towards level 2 chargers. I understand it for apartment complexes and maybe certain business scenarios, but in order for this to go mainstream for EV driving, we have to have more level 3 chargers, period. I've been driving EVs for over 11 years, and that is essential. And I'm hoping that I can make everyone understand that. I think that people that currently have EVs can relate, but I guess I have a big concern that too much effort's put into level 2 chargers when most people can come up with the funding to. Anyway.
Thank you, Steve. We appreciate your comment. Well, I actually thought of a question in real time. Don't worry, guys, it's not crazy or anything, but I'm just thinking back to how we communicate with you guys, and that we did hear comments about, meetings like this being valuable. Was this specific time better for you all? I mean, obviously we're here, so probably, but we kind of juggled between maybe during the workday or maybe after hours. So I guess is an after hours time a little better for you all, or would you have preferred maybe like during the workday or over lunch, perhaps? If anyone has any thoughts on that. Again, maybe I answered my own question because you're all here now. But Sean, thank you. Thank you for saving me. Please, please let us know your comment.
Yeah, I think after work is definitely a great time to be able to have EV owners who aren't necessarily in the electric vehicle business join in.
Cool. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, kind of what we were figuring. I'm going off script here. Anyone else have any general thoughts or comments on any of our work? Phil, thank you. I see your hand. And Cecilia. So Phil first, please.
Yeah, it just occurred to me, we haven't talked about costs. I don't know if you have any influence at all, but figuring out a way to get rid of demand charges on low utilization chargers, level 3 chargers, would be a boon to a small business trying to put in a couple. The risk of demand charges will probably dissuade a bunch of people from doing that. Again, I have no idea whether you have any influence with the PUC or with the utilities, but if you have any, that would be one place to use it.
Thank you, Phil. I mean that's an excellent comment and question. So we will include that in our FAQ. So thank you. Cecilia.
Just to let me
sorry.
just say
Go
point
ahead,
of
Mary.
information. Just we do work with the utilities and we do work with the Public Utility Commission on a regular basis. So we recognize that problem, but we do just to as a point of information, we do work with the utilities.
Thank you, Mary, for that context. Cecilia, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I not sure if this is a general comment or an FAQ question or just something to ponder, but I found myself thinking about some of the research and reading that I've been doing recently about the next generation of batteries. And there's a whole bunch of research going on around several alternatives. And it just raises the question for me about whether the infrastructure that we're investing in now will be flexible enough in design to work well with some of those future generations of batteries that may not be that far away. So just a question that comes to mind. Be interested if there's an answer for that.
Thank you for that question. And we got about 4 minutes left. So anyone have any further comments or thoughts on anything before we wrap up tonight's meeting? Steve, I see your hand up, Steve. Please give us your comment.
Yes, I was wondering if renewable energy is going to be a part of this. In other words, charging stations have solar powered or other renewable sources attached to them. Is that part of the program, or is it strictly just chargers?
Thank you for that comment or question rather. Just with that down. It's late in the meeting. I'm getting these things backwards. Anyone else? Oh, Sean, I see your hand up. Please let us know what you're thinking.
Yeah. So I'm tied as with Phil to the EV/EVA group. One thing that trying to build our user base, and it's difficult. 5-10 years ago, EVs were a niche thing, and it's gotten more and more mainstream, and it's almost to the point now where I don't know that people are necessarily looking towards specific EV support groups or EV clubs. Is there anything that ODOT could do to help steer people towards EV/EVA, OV/EVA, and other EV support groups to help kind of build the support structure and build the people who actually really are vocal about wanting to improve the infrastructure.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that question. All right, my time says 1 minute remaining. We want to make sure you all can get back to your Monday evenings on time. So anyone have any further questions while you have all of our smiling faces in front of you? Or comments too. Man, I'm doing it. It's late in the day. Not seeing any hands shooting up. We do have a tiny little bit of wrap up, so I will start my spiel. So first of all, thank you for taking time out of your Monday evening to be here with us. So next steps from us, we have all of your questions that we've been jotting down. Of course, we have all your comments as well that my colleagues have been furiously typing in the background. And of course, we have this meeting recorded. So we're going to put together a big document of all the questions asked at this meeting and the one we had with EV industry folks last week, and we'll share that with all of you via email. We also have your emails from your registrations as well. So if we need any sort of more, specific tailored reach out, we also have that as well. And if you think of any comments or questions or something else comes up, really, if you need to know anything about any of the work we're doing, I'm your guy to contact first. My email is in the chat. please let me know. You can call me as well. My phone number, well, you'll have to email me first. Please contact me if you have questions. And let's see, I think that's it for everything else. And this session will be on the ODOT YouTube as well. So if you want to just listen back to it or watch it again, it'll be there. I will upload that tomorrow. And I think that's it. Mary, I know you have some parting thoughts. So if I skipped anything, please add them to your thoughts.
I think you've got it covered. We really appreciate it. This is our first evening outreach session, and so we're very gratified that you all appreciate that time slot to be and that you came and that you shared your thoughts with us. And we will be getting back to you. Lots of really good questions. I know my colleagues and I have been typing one another in the background here saying, oh gee, we wish we could answer that question. So we're anxious to give you feedback on all the things that you brought up. Just wanted to have remind you that we will be reaching out in future on more on the community charging rebates program, more on the National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Program, and to just continue to check in. We're also updating our website to try and make it a little more clear, at least some of our websites to make them a little bit more clear and easy to find things. So we are taking your comments to heart, and we really appreciate your taking the time to help make us be able to serve Oregon better and achieve transportation electrification that benefits everyone. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Mary. Well said.
Take care and good night, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Good night.